Alabama. Again, apply online at pilgrims.com or call 256-768-3707. New opportunities awaits you at Pilgrim Prides in Russellville, Alabama. Join our team.
You're listening to WMXV HD3, St. Joseph, Tennessee, and 105.1 W286 TV, Florence, Alabama.
I'm Mike Island, and here's the latest from your source for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network. The Federal Reserve is leaving interest rates unchanged. The Fed held its July meeting on Wednesday and said in a statement that a reduction in our policy rate could be on the table as soon as the next meeting in September. Vice President Kamala Harris says Americans deserve better after Donald Trump raised doubts about her racial identity in an interview with the National Association of Black Journalists. He said Harris was always of Indian heritage, then later became a black person. Host nation France has closed the gap in the medal count standings at the Paris Olympics. The U.S. added 4 more medals on Wednesday and continues to sit atop the leaderboard with 30 medals. That total includes 5 gold, 13 silver, and 12 bronze. France is now just 4 behind with 26 total medals. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Island on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
105.1 celebrates Black history. The first African-American woman to earn a pilot's license, Bessie Coleman, had to travel to France in 1921 to achieve her dream due to racial barriers in the United States.
Knox Media Group weather. Download our apps today. Music Muscle of the Shoals 105.1 FM and WKAX 1500 AM. It's currently 87 degrees. The forecast for this morning, there is a heat advisory. Clear skies with a light breeze. Temperature 83. This afternoon, some clouds here and there and somewhat breezy. 94 degrees. Then this evening, partly cloudy with a light breeze and the temp 82. We are the Knox Media Group. Music Muscle of the Shoals. 105.1 FM and WKAX 1500 AM. Bringing you the beats and the weather on the go.
Specific audience about a topic that we encounter frequently in the clinical area. Now, you know, I'm considered to be a hormone specialist, and hormones are something I think can help many women. But there are some women who, number one, don't want to use hormones, and number two, cannot safely use hormones. And so what do these women do? Menopausal symptoms can become debilitating for some women. They have horrible hot flashes. They can't put their makeup on because of the sweat. They can't sleep because their bedclothes get wet from the night sweats. They're irritable. Their sexual activity is very painful, and therefore they begin to avoid it, which can cause problems with a relationship. What are their alternatives? Well, first of all, let me mention that hormones and alternative methods of hormone replacement are 2 different things. Now, I have some women who say, I just don't want to use hormone replacement therapy. I want to be all natural. And so there are some things you can use that have estrogen-like properties, and that will help some of your symptoms. On the other hand, the woman who does not need to use estrogen therapy for reasons such as breast cancer, she may have had phlebitis or blood clots in her legs, or she may have something like cirrhosis of the liver and can't metabolize it safely. They need to use another section. So don't confuse the two. Sometimes I speak to women who have had breast cancer, and they tell me they're using these natural estrogen replacement therapies. Well, don't do that, because you are still getting the effects of estrogen. There are some things you should avoid if it is not safe for you to use estrogen. So you need to check and see, do these products have estrogen-like properties? And if they do, avoid them if you are not a candidate for hormone replacement therapy. Now, say that you haven't had cancer, you haven't had blood clots, your liver's fine, but you just don't want to use hormones. I always tell people when I'm counseling them on their options for treatment of menopause, number one option is you don't have to do anything. You are not going to die from menopause. About 10% of women go through menopause without any symptoms, and they are very, very lucky. The other 90% of us sweat, we're cranky and irritable, we're dry, and we just don't feel our best. So, what can those ladies do who can use estrogen but choose not to? Well, there are lubricants that help with the vaginal dryness. There are vaginal refreshers that help with the moisture and any bacterial overgrowth. When you're menopausal, the vaginal tissues become thin and dry and they don't stretch easily. And as a result, they're more likely to acquire bacteria, which can give women an unpleasant odor. It can cause you to have more frequent bladder infections or urinary tract infections. So, keeping those tissues moist and stretchy is the goal. And you can find over the counter lubricants that will do those things. There are also tablets that you can get that will help with simply vaginal lubrication. One is called Osphena, and the purpose of that tablet is vaginal lubrication. The disadvantage of it is many times your insurance company will not cover it, and it's over $600 for a month's supply. So that's not really a feasible option right now. Hopefully, insurance companies are going to change some of their policies toward women, but right now it's cost prohibitive for many people if your insurance doesn't cover it. There are tablets that you can take that are non-estrogenic that help with hot flashes. But if you don't want to use a chemical, if that's why you're not using estrogen, you probably don't want to put another chemical in there that's going to mimic estrogen. Uh, Two things you can do to help replace or help balance your hormones naturally. Number one, exercise. A good regimen of an exercise program helps to modulate the symptoms of menopause. Number two, a good healthy diet. Cut your sugar, monitor your carbohydrates, pay attention to your proteins, and that is a natural way to help balance your hormones. Now, if you cannot use estrogen safely for whatever reason, and some people have a factor in their blood called Leiden factor 5 that precludes the use of estrogen, meaning if you have this factor, you do not need to use estrogen supplementation because it affects clotting. Um, what can you do? Well, again, there are some things that can make your life much more pleasant. One of the biggest friends that you will find in life is your compound pharmacist. The compound pharmacist can take your symptoms, look at your health history, and formulate a product specifically for your use. Now, vaginal atrophy, meaning your vaginal tissues have dried out, sex hurts, you avoid it, you hate it, you don't want to do it anymore, you don't even have the desire to do it. What can you do about that? I'm seeing more and more women in their younger years have cancer, and so they've got a lot of life left to live. They need to enjoy their marital relationships. They need to enjoy sexual activity and adult activities. The compound pharmacists that we work with can formulate a gel that has no estrogen in it. The biggest component of that product is hyaluronic acid. And you think, I don't want to put acid in my vagina. It already hurts and it's dry, so I'm sure not going to put acid in it. Well, it's not acid like you think of acid. Hyaluronic acid is the ingredient in our cosmetics that keep our skin moist and soft. It does the same for the vaginal tissues. We also can put some vitamin E in there, some a couple of other ingredients that are non-hormonal that help pull moisture to the area and soften those tissues, and it can make a world of difference. Sex, once again, becomes pleasant, and it helps your world there. It helps prevent infections. When those tissues in the vagina get dry, the opening around the bladder also gets dry, and it shrinks up and pulls back, and the opening to the bladder is more open, and it lets bacteria in. So you want to keep those tissues moisturized and pliable so that you're not going to be bothered with that. Also, that unpleasant odor comes from bacteria adhering to those dry, irritated tissues. Some people say it smells fishy. When someone comes in my office and say, I have a fishy odor, I probably know what it is, but of course we're going to check to make sure that nothing else is going on. Those tissues can actually be so dry that they tear. And so a woman will come in and she said, I've started bleeding after sexual activity. And usually that is the case. Those tissues have dried out and they tear. A few women have actually told me it feels like sandpaper when I'm trying to have sex. Well, nobody wants that sensation in their vagina. So we need to keep those tissues moist and pliable. Now, say that you can't use estrogen and you are just burdened with hot flashes. Well, there's a number of medications on the market that you can use. There's a new one out called Venosa. That is non-hormonal, and it simply helps with hot flashes and night sweats. It's relatively new. I will say I haven't seen a great deal of response to it. The product literature tells you you'll get a little bit of relief. Instead of maybe having 15 hot flashes a day, you might have 8. Well, you're still going to have some hot flashes. So that's not my favorite thing to start with. I will certainly try it and let the woman be the judge of it if it's deemed safe. But there are other things that you can do. Avoid excess caffeine. Caffeine causes sweating. It causes your pores to open and your metabolism to speed up, and you get hot faster. So you might want to moderate your caffeine intake. There is another tablet called Brisdale. Brisdale, again, is cost prohibitive if your insurance company does not pay for it, and many insurance companies do not pay for it. But Brisdale is the same thing as generic Paxil. Now, Paxil is an antidepressant that's been around for a long time, and so the patent has gone off of the name brand, and they have a generic form of it. So a small dose of Paxil is equivalent to the medication called Brisdale, and you can substitute that. It is non-hormonal, so women who cannot use estrogen possibly could use Brisdale or the generic Paxil to help with hot flashes. There are some studies that show different things help. One is what's called a catapress patch. It's a transdermal patch that you stick on your skin. It was formulated to help with blood pressure, but it might be an alternative for you. Some studies show the use of vitamin E can help with hot flashes. Of course, again, don't just go out and treat yourself. Vitamin E can also increase bleeding tendencies. So if for some reason you've had a heart attack and you're on blood thinners, or you are on blood thinners for blood clots, the vitamin E can mess up your clotting timing. So again, don't play doctor if you don't know how, because you can hurt yourself. You might even kill yourself. So run anything past someone who knows something about hormone therapy and the effect of vitamins. Now, I am a big proponent of natural supplements. I practice a blend of integrative medicine along with traditional medicine. But I am the first to tell you, just because you can buy something without a prescription does not mean it's safe. You can hurt yourself with supplements if you are taking them in a poor way. And just because a little's good doesn't mean more is better. You have to use common sense. So if you've had a significant medical issue, do not add supplements just because you think, oh, that might help me. Well, it might, but it might hurt you too. It might affect or interact with some of the medicines your physician has given you. So always run any supplements past your healthcare provider on that. Hot flashes, common sense. Don't work outside when it's hot. Stay inside in a cool area. Wear light colored clothes, wear light fabrics, cottons, lightweight jerseys, things like that. Menopause does not have to ruin your life, even if you choose not to use hormones or if you can't use hormones. But the two biggest issues I see are dryness in the vagina with painful sex or hot flashes and night sweats that keep you from sleeping well. So those two things can readily be addressed. Thankfully, the pharmaceutical companies have listened and they have come out with things that will help. Can the Osphena, which is a tablet for vaginal dryness, be used in women who cannot use hormone therapy? Possibly. Now, in medicine, sometimes it's hard to get a straight answer, a yes or a no. We have to look at the package insert, the product literature, the studies, and the product literature says can be used safely. Well, when you come to my clinic, you become my family. You become my sister, my mother, my aunt, and I'm going to treat you like I would treat my family or I would want to be treated. And if I can't look you in the eye and tell you, I have full confidence in this, I feel that it's safe, that it's not going to hurt you, and that it's actually going to help you, I'm not going to give it to you. I will refer you to someone who might, but I'm not going to because I have to sleep with myself at night. And I took a vow never to hurt someone with my practice. And so that's why we are so cautious. You may have come into my office or any of your other provider offices and filled out a health history. Well, you come back the next year and they ask you to update it. And, you sigh about having to fill out more paperwork. But the purpose of that is where we can take care of you properly. We need to know, have you had a blood clot this year? Have you had a cancer show up? Is there a questionable mammogram in your record this year? We need to know those things because you can hurt yourself with hormone therapy. You can hurt yourself with supplements. And we are not going to purposefully participate in that. So know that, some people tell me, well, if I don't tell you, then I might can get what I want. Well, yeah, you might can, because I always tell my patients I skipped school the day we had mind reading class. So if you don't tell me, if you're not honest with me, I don't know. But please be honest with whoever you see because they need to know those things. If you are just, many women come in and say, I am so miserable that I am willing to take a chance on the side effects because I've got to go some way and I want to go feeling good, Well, that probably wouldn't stand up in court of law in a malpractice suit. We have to treat you judiciously. And again, I, as a woman, know what a hot flash feels like. They are misery. And if you're having them over and over and over, it impacts your life. So sit down with your provider. Number one, be honest. Tell them what's going on. Tell them I wake up in the night and I have to change my bedclothes because I'm soaking wet, or I'm freezing the whole family because I am on fire. And we can come up with a program for you to help you. Don't forget that it might not be menopause causing some of those problems. After the age of 35, it's not unusual that sometimes the thyroid gets sluggish, and a thyroid dysfunction can cause some of these similar symptoms. Diabetes can cause some of these similar symptoms. If your blood sugar is dropping too low, now a lot of women are on diets. They're using these shots that are meant for diabetics. They're using them to lose weight. And sometimes their blood sugar drops. They're nauseated. They sweat. They can't sleep. They're miserable. They're constipated. All of those things are side effects of this category of medication. So we're going to look at what else you're taking, and we're probably going to want some blood work to rule out what else it might be. We don't come with all the knowledge built into our heads so that when we look at you, we can tell what's going on. We have to investigate. So usually when you go for a visit, you'll have 2 visits. The first one is what we call a discovery visit. That's where we learn about you. We update your health history, or we get a health history. We find out what medicines you're taking and what problems you're having. And that tips us off to what blood work you need. And we'll get the blood work back. Then we like for you to come back to see us. I like to go over blood work with you personally. I like to show you where you are, where you need to be, and your options to get you there. And then after you see what the options are, the good and the bad about every option, you can tell me which one you want to start with. And we'll start with that one. Some things work for one woman, and the next woman, they won't work at all. So we are not a one-size-fits-all gender. We have to be individualized, and the only way to do that is an open conversation. Now, some women in the older group, they don't like to talk about their sex life, and that's understandable. Here in the South, we're taught to keep our dresses down, our knees together. We don't talk about things like that in public. And you come into our office and we do just the opposite. We strip you down, we open your knees, we check your insides, and we ask about sex. But that's okay. That's what we do. That's what you've come to us for. And so let us do our job by being open and honest. I doubt there's anything you could tell someone who's been in the GYN, the gynecology arena for a long period of time, anything that would shock them. Tell us if you have different partners, or if you've changed partners, and if you've developed a discharge or something doesn't seem right. Tell us if you hurt. Tell us if you're having problems at home. If you've started avoiding sex because it hurts so much and your partner is not happy with you and it's causing issues, that's going to affect up here. And the biggest sex organ in your body is your brain. So if you can't get in the right frame of mind, that's going to affect things. We need to know that, because there's pills and potions for pretty much any ailment that humans have. But if we can find the least number of chemicals to take care of the problem, that's the goal. But I like for you to know, just because you have had the adversity to have a cancer, a blood clot, a liver ailment, that does not mean that your life is over or that your sex life is over. Now, granted, many women were using hormones. They were diagnosed with a breast cancer. They had to stop it, and they just feel lost. Then it's time to intervene when you first start having these symptoms, or when you first start noticing a problem. Don't wait until your vagina is bleeding, you're keeping a urinary tract infection the whole time. Once you see that there's an issue, tackle it. Now, I'm the kind of person who, I don't like to hear the word no. I've heard it a lot in my life, and I'm sure I'll hear it a lot more if I'm blessed to live longer. But I'm the kind who says, okay, don't tell me no. Tell me how I can get to where it's a yes. And that's what we do. We're going to tell you no, hormones aren't safe for you, and I will not give them to you. But here's some options to get you in that same place that are safe. And so that's how most medical providers practice these days, particularly in the GYN world. GYN world is different than others. We don't really see sick people very often. We see healthy women, and our goal is to address issues that would interfere with that health. And that's what we do. And knowing that you've had a couple of issues that keep you from using one category of medicines doesn't mean there are not other categories that you can't use. So if you have had the problems that keep you from safely using hormone therapy, or if you fall into the category of just wanting to use natural supplementation, come and see us. Talk to us. Tell us your concerns. Tell us your problems. And let's put our heads together and get you an answer that makes your world a happy world. Again, I'm Susan Bentley, women's health nurse practitioner at Options Wellness in Muscle Shoals in collaboration with Knox Media. Now, let me remind you, if you know of a product or you have a product that would benefit all of us women in the shoals, let us know about it. Advertise with us so we can feature that product and tell others about it. Share your knowledge. That's what brings us all together as sisters, and we really want to take good care of our sisters. I thank you for listening this afternoon, and I hope to see you back here soon. Bye-bye.
Love and happiness, yeah. Something that can make you do wrong, make you do right. Yeah. Love.